At the same time, the Student Representative Council at Tshwane University of Technology is also calling for Minister Nzimande and NSFAS chairperson Ernest Khoza to resign. For more on this conversation, we're now joined by Tshwane University of Technology SRC President Keamogetswe Masike. Keamogetswe, a pleasure to have you on the program this evening. Well, firstly, what's a TUT SRC's position on the matter? I mean, Outa is making this call that Minister Nzimande should resign. It's also being supported by the DA. But these are not the only organizations that are making such a call. What do you say?
Yeah, look, we got expelled from the university for demanding the attention of the minister for the past 8 months. Look, students took it to the streets demanding the attention of the minister to suspend the contracts that were awarded to these fly-by-night companies that were given a responsibility to disperse allowances to the poor and the vulnerable students. So yeah, we calling upon the resignation of the minister did not come yesterday when Outa decided to release that report. I came here in the studio and I demanded that the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, must then give a letter of leave, special leave, to the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nzimande, because the state of higher education in the country has been in a state of a crisis for quite some time. And whenever we call upon the attention of the minister to attend to serious issues that are affecting students on the ground, the minister always chooses to blue tick those issues and he does not respond to those genuine concerns that students are raising on the ground.
Let's speak to those concerns. Some students are not being paid since July of 2023. I mean, these problems have been widely documented as well. Just help us reflect on some of the problems that are facing students and how SASCO, for instance, is involved to also ensure that students, priorities or needs are met.
We've preserved our position as the South African Student Congress that it can never be business as usual when officials of the university, officials of government, officials of the Department of Higher Education want to pretend as if there's no crisis in the sector. Students are home, students are hungry, students have not received their allowances. The report came and it stipulated clearly that over 20,000 students had went home without receiving their allowances. And these are the very same students that depend on these allowances to survive on a daily basis in institutions of higher learning. So that means that the sector is in a state of a crisis, and unfortunately you are having a minister that is incompetent and a minister that does not want to be held accountable, a minister that does not want to raise his hand to show a sign of accountability that indeed there must be a clear call in dealing with some of these issues. Yesterday, just yesterday, there was a video, a recording that was leaked in a restaurant where leadership was discussing the exchange of bags, eating expensive wagga steak in a restaurant, discussing who must get the more bags in terms of who must then run with this particular process. And that means to us, these officials are not interested in the well-being of the students in institutions of higher learning, but they are interested in creating their own stock files and enriching their lives.
Let's speak to that. I mean, these allegations that have surfaced, of course, made worse by these recordings that have also emerged. The Higher Education Minister, Dr. Nzimande, is threatening legal action in response to some of the accusations that are made against him, and also planning to challenge Outa's report. What's your response to this? No,
Nzimande must be held accountable. I think he's trying to play tactics when he then says that he's going to throw legal things to Outa. Look, I'm not an official spokesperson of Outa here, but I want to state it categorically clear that the minister is just playing delay tactics here. He's just trying to use people as scapegoats in him failing to take accountability that his office is under siege. Because, I mean, for the past 8 months, like I've emphasized before that, for the past eight months, students across the country in institutions of higher learning have stood firm to say that they were demanding the attention of the minister to amicably address these issues that are affecting students on the ground. But till today, the minister, actually there was one event at the Tshwane North College where the minister was addressing a particular program there. We went there to demand his attention, and I'm one of the student leaders who were identified as a potential threat to the minister's program there, because we had made a clear and call live on public television and radio that we're going to demand the minister's attention. Wherever he goes, we're going to follow him. When he goes to the toilet, we're going to follow him to the toilet. When he goes to his office, we're going to follow him in his office. But up until today, Andile Nongongo has been used as a scapegoat. We hear video recordings of the chairperson of the board who used the very same CEO as a scapegoat, while then he also attests in that same voice recording to say that the Vekemens attorney's company was appointed directly so that he can have control over that. So that means, to us, that means that the sector is polluted, and the chairperson of the board must then must also resign with immediate effect.
But Keamogetswe, how do you even question the authenticity of some of these recordings? I mean, one could easily come back and say this is fabricated. It's complete nonsense. No,
that's the voice of NSFAS. We know the personally, I've attended many media briefings of the chairperson, claiming even in many media briefings that SRCs were even sponsored by KFCs to go to the streets and demand the attention of the minister and the cancellation of these contracts. So that voice in that recording, we are seeing it now without any fear of contradiction, that is the voice of the chairperson of the board, Dr. Ernest Khoza.
And so that's how you view the credibility of these recordings as well?
Yes, we are saying that we had a suspicion that these companies were hand-picked, right?
Right.
And we had assumed that the CEO, because he is the custodian of the scheme, he is then responsible of the appointment, not knowing that the chairperson of the board is the real criminal in this whole shenanigan. And in the last interview I think I had with Tloli here, I told Tloli that we are suspecting that the chairperson as well must also be investigated. There must then be an investigation that is thrown to the chairperson of the board, because we don't believe that Andile Nongongo can be the only one who's implicated of corruption and maladministration at NSFAS, while the chairperson is seen to be an innocent child of Jesus Christ.
Amidst all these shenanigans, and also as we wrap up our conversation, as a student body, how do you then ensure that students' rights are protected amidst all these shenanigans that we see taking place right now?
I was suspended, my brother, for remaining firm in the struggles of those that I lead, because I never used my position as the SRC president at the time, using it as a CV, so that I can have a soft landing post my term of office. I stood firm in the struggles that affect these students, because these are the students that come to us on a daily basis, crying, saying that money has been debited in our accounts, but surprisingly when we enter some of these cards, apps and all of that, that money has disappeared. And we've asked a simple question, that who must then be held accountable if these are some of the concerns that students are raising? The very same students that depend on this money to also have shelter, because you can understand that when you do not have funding in an institution of higher learning, it means that you suffer both from a meal allowance and you also suffer from accommodation. So these are the very same students that reach out to us, and I can tell you many are home now. They have not received their allowances. We don't even trust that by the 15th of January, because the spokesperson of NSFAS claimed that by the 15th of January, all allowances will have been distributed to students. We don't really believe that, and we don't think that is the honest reality.
Keamogetswe, very quickly, how concerned are you about the reported payment of 1 million rand to the SACP, which of course is a party that Blade Nzimande is associated with as well?
I think there must be an investigation, because remember, this report as well, we must not just take everything that is just said there and then we want to throw our opinions, and when something is just said, more especially even considering the historic background of Outa as an institution as well. So we might not really know, but if there is such an activity where money was paid to the South African Communist Party, those comrades must then be held accountable as well in a court of law, because we're not going to protect criminals. We're not going to protect fly-by-night companies that were appointed in a restaurant where the leadership is just exchanging bags, discussing who must benefit and all of that. So we're not going to agree that the money of the poor and the working class and taxpayers' money is just used by a particular group of friends who are trying to create a stokvel out of the money of the poor and the vulnerable.
Keamogetswe, let me thank you for your time. That concludes our detailed exploration of the recent revelations brought to light by the lobby group Outa regarding this alleged corruption and mismanagement within the National Student Financial Aid Scheme and the higher education sector as well.